Hello, beautiful students and learners of the English language across the world. Welcome once again to ISIFE EDUBLOG, where learning, as we say, is fun. Martin Ekba is my name on the English language, bringing you the topic essay writing. Creative writing has been a hot spot of sort, something very needful. We can't do without creativity, and creative writing is, should I say, the hallmark of the user of the English or usage of the English language. If you can speak but you can't write, there is a problem. If you can write but you can't write creatively, your work will be boring. So we start grooming you from the early stages of your use of the English language on creative writing under the aegis of essay writing. Now, the first on the board is narrative essay. We had worked on formal letters and informal letter. In all of this, we talked about how to write creatively. And writing the narrative essay or teaching the narrative essay is another ample opportunity for us to learn creative writing. The narrative essay is a storytelling device. A storytelling device. What I mean is this. The bottom line of narrative essay is storytelling. Yes, when you read novels, you read plays, you read poems, the different genres of literature are all about narration. Now, examination bodies like Waec or NECO will ask you, write a story that will end in the same. If you live in a glass house, don't throw stone. First, you have to decode what is meant by this proverb or this saying. Those who live in glass house don't throw stone. Then you decode that first. You say to yourself, okay, if my house is glass and I throw a stone at it, perhaps you've never heard of this proverb before, but you're now imagining. If I throw a stone at my glass house, what will happen to it? The wall will crack. Which means, if I'm wearing this shirt and I don't want it to get torn, I shouldn't use a razor blade on it. Which means, God has given me skin. If I want it to be protected, I shouldn't stay days without taking a bath. You see, you're beginning to create. That's how it starts. And then you realize, which means, if I want to live long, I should eat well. Which means if I want to pass my examination, I should study my books. Now I see. Those who live in glass house should not throw stone indeed. So you could pick up your story from any of these angles. Okay, I'm a student, so I want to pass my exams. My future is my glass house. So you see, we've started. That is creativity. So you tell a story in this regard. I wouldn't be foisting a story on you. The story I will tell briefly is mine. So I'll start. 14 years ago, a boy was preparing for the Waec and NECO examinations. And because he lives at a noisy place, he would prefer to go to the bush to read. The part of the bush where he read had become so accustomed to him that they had given way. The grass had all died. Not because he necessarily wanted to kill them, but because he had consistently stayed around that place. Well, this boy kept doing his reading, coming out only when he had satisfied himself for the day. There were other factors leading to him hiding and reading. For instance, his parents were poor, and it took his uncle, who lived in Lagos, to pay his Waec and NECO registration fees, with a strong promise never to do that for him again, as he had other younger ones. You can imagine such a promise never to do something for a young man again. So he was in that state of get it now or lose it. Somehow, someday, a friend convinced him to go for a party. For the first time in his life, he joined a team of friends to attend a party. 2 days later, he was convinced again to go watch a football match. He watched the match and he told himself he could do it. Gradually, he began following others to the field to practice. The irony, however, is that these other people who had been going out playing football, partying and all that, had been able to manage their times. But this young man in question was only accustomed to reading his books, going to school, coming back home. Combining this activity suddenly with his reading, he could not just cope. So he would come back from his football practice and there would be no energy left to read. That was how our friend began to decline. And eventually, when the exams came up 4 months after, those friends of his who had convinced him to go playing football and partying all made good grades. But our friend failed English and maths, making sure that he returns to the Waec and NECO halls 1 more year, or perhaps more. So you see, he lived in a glass house and he threw stone. And the consequence is that his wall shattered. That is the kind of story that one could use to illustrate this. And that is a beautiful narrative story. In narrating your story or writing your narrative essay, you have to choose. I have used the third person point of view. Choose whether this story is about you, in which case you use I. We call it the first person point of view. if the story is about you. I am this, I live here, this happened to me, so you see, I and me. First person point of view is used in telling stories about the storyteller. Then, you could also choose to use the third person point of view. That is the type I have used. Third person point of view means the use of he. That is, for the first person point of view, we use he, she, they. Of course, he will get him, him. She will get her, while they will get them. Now, in using this, you are telling the story of another person. You are not directly involved. It could give you a more stable state. That is, you will not be biased. If you're telling the story from the I point of view, the first person point of view, there are things you may not want to expose about yourself. But if you're telling the story from the third person point of view, the tendency is that you will say everything the way they are. Well, it's up to you. The choice is yours. We also have the second person point of view, where you is used. This is not too rampant. You could inculcate it as part of any of this. If you have chosen the first person point of view on a particular discourse, you could use the second person to address somebody in particular, but the second person is not so much of a reliable technique to use in writing a long story. So, make it your choice. Go between, choose either the third person point of view or the first person point of view. Well, the second, no problem, but I doubt if you can manage it well. Another is argumentative essay. What is argumentative essay? Well, it is easy to say debate, but it is not all the time that you actually have the proposing side and the opposing side and all of that, as we say in debates. So if you're told to write an argumentative essay, you just bring out the things you know about the thing you're arguing about and other. So, what do I mean? As your school's debate team chief speaker, write your speech on the motion. Our educational facilities should be co-educational across board. Alright? If this topic is given to you, what do? You are given co-educational system, and the motion said our educational facilities should be, so there is already a preference. There is already a preference for co-education. So first, you have to think out the opposite of co-education. The normal simple thing you're told at schools is mixed schools and co-educational schools. Mixed schools or both sex schools and all that, boys and girls. So which one is better? Now, the motion you have on the ground already said that our educational facilities should be co-educational, which means there is a preference. Now, here is the implication. If you are proposing, if you are supporting this idea, you are proposing it, and so you're saying that co-educational system is better than single-sex educational system. A co-educational system is better than single-sex education. That's what you're saying if you are supporting the motion, which we call proposing. But if you're opposing the motion, you are at liberty to do so. The mere fact that the sentence seems to favor co-education system does not mean it cannot be opposed. Alright? So you may choose to say, I don't agree, in which case you're making an argument for single-sex education system. Whichever one you choose to do, have enough points to back up your choice. So, what are the possible things we could say about co-education system, and what are the things we could say about the single-sex education? You see, for the co-educational, points are, among others, 1, there is interaction between boys and girls. Our world is made up of men and women. So having boys and girls together at the same school is giving them a true picture of the reality of life. So they start relating and sharing feelings for each other. That way, they don't become aliens when they get to the larger society. 2, at the impressionable age of 11 through 17 and all of that, of course, girls are attracted to boys and boys are attracted to girls. The tendency is that a boy who would ordinarily be unwilling to go to school would get up, want to go to school because of a female friend. Well, I don't like it when girlfriend is defined as somebody you have sexual relationship with, but what can we say? At least, I'm talking of this is boy, this is girl, and these two are in a platonic relationship. There is nothing attached. Yet, the feeling that I wouldn't want to stay without my friend will attract boy to go to school, will attract girl to go to school, even when they have a fever. That is the beauty of the co-educational system. Another is that you also have a blend. You also have a blend of behavior. A boy will not necessarily want to be disgraced before his female friend. And so even manner of speaking, the way they talk, they wouldn't want to say things that would provoke their female friends. Likewise, the girls wouldn't want to do or say things that would provoke their male friends. Another thing is that they will learn to protect each other. Alright? The boy begins to learn to protect his female friend, and the girl will begin to learn to protect his male friend. This thread does not just stop at school. It is taken to the house. It is taken to the point that if you begin to raise your own family, the young man who protected his girl at school learns to protect his wife. The young woman who learned to protect his boy at school learns to protect her husband. So these things are all part of education. Education is not just about learning to read and write. No, that's not the essence. The essence is to build humanity. And so you could say all of this in support of the co-educational system. You could go ahead to argue even academically that a union of boys and girls as readers club will work better than when you have only boys in such an environment. Well, that's for the co-educational system. Do you think that in all we've said, there is anything left for the single-sex education? Yes, there are still reasons to advocate single-sex education. Now, you could talk of concentration. Where you have only girls, there is no such distractions as male-female relationship. It doesn't exist. It doesn't come in. At a single-sex facility, the tendency is that things are easily shared, as sharing is easier among people of the same sex. Alright? They could read together without people accusing them of having any sexual relationship. That is another serious point. Single-sex school has a tendency to raise men or women who are more focused. Yes, because there were no distractions at school. They are goal-getters. This is what they want, and they go for it. So, these are some of the points you could raise for the single-sex education. Another point is that they are easier to manage. The single-sex education, that is a facility that has only girls or only boys, are easier to manage. If you keep boys and girls together, today you say boys should not go to girls' hostel. Give them 2 days, and the girls are crossing to the boys' hostel, the boys are crossing to the girls' hostel. But when you have single-sex facility, such laws don't even come in, as there is nothing to enforce. So it is far, far easier to manage a single-sex facility than the co-educational facility. That's the argumentative essay. Whatever you believe in, go for it. It is not the best to begin to attack the other. Just marshal out your own points in support of the area you believe in or the side you are on. That's number 2. Number 3 and 4 might be taken together: descriptive essay and expository essay. To describe is to give the physical features of something. To expose is to bring out the unknown in something. They are close, but while this one is more on physical features, this one is more on internal features that one cannot easily see. So, while Ekoniko will say, write an article suitable for publication in any of the national newspapers on the topic, the smartphone and the adolescent. This is more of an expository essay than a descriptive one. You know why? You are digging deep into the effects of the smartphone on the adolescent. If it is just the smartphone alone, you could be talking of the physical features and all that. That could be more descriptive. But we're talking of the relationship now between an adolescent and the smartphone. Of course, it is everywhere. And there are so many implications. Writing these implications, stating that the smartphone has, of course, there are positives and negatives. We must say that. That's another thing we have to really point out. In descriptive and expository essays, you balance things. Unlike what you have with the argumentative essay, where you concentrate on one side. In descriptive essay, you talk about the benefits of the smartphone to the adolescent, and then the side effects. So you balance things out in all of this. You have to dig out these things. What are the possible benefits of the smartphone to the adolescent? Of course, virtually all topics can be accessed using the smartphone, just like what I am doing right now. With your smartphone, you go to YouTube and you find ISIFE EDUBLOG. So if you are with your smartphone studying English, will somebody say it's not beneficial? The answer is no. It is quite beneficial. And like I said, virtually all topics. You use the smartphone to connect with other people through the social media and all that. If you connect to people, learning good things from them, and even listening to news, you are doing yourself a great deal of good. But then, there's also the other side, that young people could be glued to their phones hours on end, and then never remembering educational sites. They are chatting, watching obscene pictures, and frequently visiting sites that are not even meant for people of their age. That will corrupt the mind. That will waste their time. That a child who should be reading is on any of the social media platforms for hours discussing things completely outside their school is not acceptable. And so parents should watch. You see, we have talked about the good side of the smartphone. We have talked about the bad side of the smartphone. Now we are talking about the harmonization now, what the roles of the parents should be. If you've given your child a smartphone, monitor how they use it. You could devise your means, maybe keeping the phone away from them within school hours, maybe giving them 1 hour or 2 hours to use their phones and taking it away from them. Just find what works. Parents are to get this one, because I was informed that if one gets addicted to the cell phone, it is the same kind of addiction with alcohol. It is the same thing that makes you addicted to alcohol and other things that could make you addicted to a smartphone. The hormones will be created that will lead to such an addiction. So, we have looked at essay writing, narrative, argumentative, descriptive, and expository. In all of this, you make practice your benchmark. They say Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't wake up one morning and say, today you want to do a narrative essay and bingo, you've got it right. No. Start practicing gradually, and with time, you sit down and compose a beautiful story, a beautiful argument, a beautiful description or exposition in any of this. It's me, your teacher, Martin Ekpa, saying goodbye, but not before telling you to visit our sites, do all that your teachers have asked you to do, and to like, share, and keep us company on ISIFE EDUBLOG. Thank you.